Welcome back to Aesthetics Magazine. Discover more skincare resources at aestheticsmagazine.com. In this episode, we are going to offer an overview on UV protection. UV radiation from the sun can do great damage to our skin. Prolonged exposure puts us at a higher risk for cellular damage, premature aging, and skin cancer. This is why it is important for us to use UV protection. There are two types of ultraviolet radiation, UVA and UVB. UVA rays are associated with skin aging and can pass through glass windows. UVB, on the other hand, is known as the main contributor to the development of skin cancer and is mostly absorbed by the ozone layer. The strength of the UV radiation that reaches us from the sun can vary depending on the time of day, the season, and the weather. But the number one cause of skin cancers is UVB. According to studies over the past decades, the most aggressive and fastest-growing cancers are caused by UV radiation. For example, the main cause of deaths from skin cancer is the UV radiation that comes from the sun. In the UK alone, over 2,000 people die from skin cancer every year. It's also the leading type of cancer diagnosed in 15 to 34-year-olds. This is why it is absolutely essential to protect yourself from UV radiation. Using clothing as a method of protection does not require any daily action or have any risk of side effects, and it can save you time that might be spent applying lotions. However, the amount of protection that it can offer may not be adequate, especially when the UV index is high. This is when sunscreen comes in as a very handy method of UV protection. Use it in conjunction with other methods of protection, and you can ensure that you are well protected from the sun. The primary role of clothing is to act as a physical barrier between the sun's harmful ultraviolet, UV, rays and the skin. Clothes provide different levels of protection depending on several factors such as the weave, color, weight, and thickness of the fabric. For example, tight-knit fabrics such as polyester and wool give greater protection from the sun's UV rays than fabrics like cotton. Darker colors offer more protection than lighter colors because they absorb more UV rays. The amount of protection clothing can offer from the sun is measured by the ultraviolet protection factor, UPF. Similar to the sun protection factor, SPF, rating used for sunscreen, the UPF measures the amount of UV radiation that can penetrate the fabric and reach the skin. Clothes with a higher UPF provide greater protection from UV rays. Many clothing companies have recognized the importance of UV protection and have developed sun protective lines. These specialized clothing lines offer a wide range of fashionable and functional clothing options for children and adults. In addition to fabric, the style of the clothing can also dictate the level of sun protection it can offer. For example, long-sleeved shirts, full-length trousers, and longer skirts maximize the amount of skin that is shielded from UV radiation, providing better protection compared to shorter styles. By covering the skin with fabric and creating a physical barrier against UV radiation, UV protective clothing is one of the most effective methods of sun protection. Whether a person is searching for a wide-brimmed sun hat, a stylish beach cover-up, or a long-lasting swim shirt, the options for UV protective clothing continue to grow, and it is evident that it is becoming a popular choice for skin protection from the sun. There are two main types of active ingredients in sunscreens: organic or carbon-based compounds and inorganic or non-carbon-based compounds. The inorganic compounds, sometimes called physical blockers, such as titanium dioxide, reflect or scatter UV radiation. The organic compounds absorb UV radiation, dissipating it as heat. Sunscreens are further designed to block either UVA, UVB, or both types of UV radiation. Sun protection factor, or SPF, is a measure of how long a sunscreen can protect you from ultraviolet B, UVB, rays. SPF is calculated by comparing the amount of time needed to produce a minimally noticeable redness without sunscreen to the amount of time needed to produce the same redness with sunscreen. For example, a sunscreen with SPF 15 will prevent sunburn 15 times longer than without sunscreen. It is important to note that high-number SPFs last the same amount of time as low-number SPFs and need to be applied at the same frequency. There is little to no scientific evidence that products with very high SPFs protect any better than products with SPFs of 30 to 50. Consumer Reports recommend that consumers look for sunscreens with an SPF of 40. These will protect the user from about 97% of UVB rays. Inorganic sunscreens contain reflective agents like zinc oxide or titanium dioxide, which are a physical sunscreen, reflecting both UV and visible radiations, and so far have shown little ability in generating reactive oxygen species. A kind of organic sunscreens work by absorbing UV radiation through the excitation of their ingredients, then emit the radiation with longer wavelength in the form of heat. There are wide varieties of organic sunscreens, depending on the specific UV radiation they absorb, such as UVA and UVB light. Some sunscreens may also contain chemicals which help to stabilize the active sunscreen agents and protect the skin from further damage by ultraviolet light by keeping the organic filters from breaking down. These chemicals participate in chemical reactions against the reactive oxygen species resulted from energy transfer processes in the skin and deactivated free radicals. It is worth noticing that chemicals in sunscreens can penetrate into human skin. For example, the organic compound benzophenone used in many sunscreens nowadays can be detected in human urine shortly after a single application of sunscreen, which has raised concerns about the potential toxicity of sunscreen use. The penetration of sunscreen ingredients can be influenced by various factors, including skin condition, skin thickness, and area of application. Topical application of medicated sunscreens, like anti-aging cream containing tretinoin, and oral medications can also affect the absorption of sunscreen agents. Therefore, the potential health risk of sunscreen use, such as an increased rate of skin cancer, needs to be addressed and investigated to ensure the safety and efficacy of modern sunscreens. The significance of both clothing and sunscreen in safeguarding the skin against the harmful effects of UV radiation is emphasized. It is important to note that UV protection with clothing, UPF, is influenced by a number of factors such as the type of fabric and its density. Light colors may offer less protection compared to dark colors. As for the use of sunscreen, the Skin Cancer Foundation advocates for the application of a water-resistant, broad-spectrum sunscreen with a minimum SPF of 30. Around 2 tablespoons of sunscreen should be applied to the entire body, and it should be reapplied every 2 hours. For prolonged outdoor activities, the use of protective clothing as well as seeking shade is highly recommended together with the implementation of other sun safety measures. Finally, how well the skin is protected against UV radiation depends on whether the fabric allows sunlight to pass through and reach the skin. The color, density, and content of the fabric are main factors that influence UV protection of clothes. Similarly, the effectiveness of sunscreen application matters too. When sunscreen is not applied properly, its efficacy will decrease. Hence, using both approaches together, namely UV protective clothing and sunscreen, provides a more complete sun protection. Although individuals may opt for either clothing or sunscreen due to personal preferences, it is best to make use of both ways. This is to ensure that the skin is well protected against different levels of UV radiation during various outdoor activities. People who are highly involved in outdoor activities should be educated on the proper ways of sun protection. Young children and outdoor workers are examples of the groups of people who need to pay attention to UV protection. With the right protective measures, the dangers associated with UV radiation can be minimized. I believe that education on UV protection should be further emphasized, especially to those who are working outdoors. It is more than just providing information on UV clothing and sunscreen. The awareness should cover issues related to skin cancers and other impacts of UV radiation as well. It is a continuous effort, and I think the authority and public health organizations should play a bigger role in driving the UV protection education. Last but not least, the impact of UV radiation on the skin is real. However, it is also preventable. We have the technology and knowledge to provide effective UV protection. Discover the natural power of vitamins with this new book, Understanding Vitamins in Skincare by Greg Rishaw. Learn how vitamins can nourish, protect, and renew your skin, all while embracing a healthy, balanced approach. Get your copy today and uncover the secrets to natural ingredients. Understanding Vitamins in Skincare is available now on Amazon.com.